Do you struggle processing both the treble clef and the bass clef when you play hands together all at once? Well, today I'm actually going to give you some really helpful tips on how to get around that. Our first tip that we're going to be talking about is that when you're starting to look at music, you want to start looking at music in terms of columns, up and down, vertically. This will also help with rhythm, and I will explain here right now. So here we have the Pathetique Sonata. And let's say I'm trying to play this measure right here. Let me get it in a little closer. So I'm going to play, or I'm going to look at this measure right there. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at music in columns. So let me draw out some blocks so you can visualize what I'm talking about. And actually, I know the pen's a little thick. It actually makes it a little bit harder to see. But as you can see that I'm blocking it out, reading the notes up and down, rather than just kind of like looking at the rhythm and trying to really line everything up. Music, so long as it is, so long as there's not a mistake in it, music is written in a way where the notes are spaced out, basically so they can tell you when they hit rhythmically. So for example, right here. So right here, you have this going on. So where you have, here's our vertical column right here. But then as you can see that there's a note by its lonesome with nothing else attached to it. That means that note's going to hit by itself. So music is organized in a way to kind of help you visualize where the notes will hit. Now obviously you want to be more accurate with your rhythm, and you do want to go into the nitty-gritty and figure out how long each of these rhythms are held for, but just letting you know that they will line up visually to where you need them to be. So the another great advantage of looking at music in columns is it just makes it a lot easier to process the notes. Like I said, instead of looking at that whole measure all at once, you're just going to read it up and down. And that makes it a lot easier for me. You know, it might not be perfect, but it does make it easier. So let's talk about, and that actually goes with chords and melody. So as you can see, I'm combining the chord up and down, because chords are almost always read up and down, and I'm also combining the notes below it. There's a little bit more. There's actually another little tip I can give you in addition to this that will help you out, and that tip is you also want to read notes from the bottom to the top. In case you didn't know that already, and I'll explain what I mean exactly by that in a second. So you want to be reading literally from the lowest bass note to the highest treble note. So when you're reading, one thing you definitely don't want to do is start reading the notes from the middle. Like, so I'm going to read that one, and then read that one, and read them like out of order, because you may say, all right, well, here's F sharp. Let me get the piano here as well. So you got, here's F sharp, here's C, here's, what was this, E flat, here's A, oh, wait a second, I moved that one, where was I? So it becomes really, really difficult if you actually start going at random when you are reading your notes. Okay, so the point is you want to read notes methodically, starting from the bottom to the top. So I'm actually going to read this. I'm going to read this note first, the E. It's actually an E flat because of the key signature. And then I'm going to read the F sharp, the A, and then the C, just like that. Always from the bottom to the top. One of the main reasons for that is that when you're talking about chords, you always talk about how to build those chords from the bottom note to the top note. So say you have a C major chord. Well, it's called a C major chord because the root C is on the bottom if it's in root position, and it's C, E, G, and that's how you spell or you say the chord, the notes that make up the chord. So just for consistency's sake and just to avoid confusion, you always want to be reading music not only in columns, but you also want to be reading from the bottom to the top. Another mistake I see a lot of students make. Let's get on to the next tip I have for you. The next tip I have for you, and you've seen this a lot if you know my lessons, and that is go slow. And the reason I keep bringing this up over and over again is this applies literally to everything you do on the piano, and it's the number one mistake that students make. They try to play fast right off the bat, or what'll happen is they'll start out slow, especially with songs that they know by ear, they know what the song sounds like. They'll start playing it too fast right away, and the whole thing falls apart. So when trying to process all of these notes all at once, it makes a lot of sense to just slow down. There's no hurry. Obviously, if you're performing it in a concert, you've been practicing it for months, then you want to play at full speed. But, there's nobody putting a gun to your head, at least hopefully not, to play it at full speed or even anywhere close to full speed. You can even literally, what I recommend sometimes is turning all the notes into whole notes, holding them for 4 beats each, or maybe even 2. And another thing, if you're just starting to get used to playing hands together and processing all these notes, don't worry so much about the rhythm at first. Do a couple playthroughs where you are just concentrating on reading the notes in columns from top to bottom, middle to top to bottom. No, from bottom to top in columns. And you want to go nice and slow. It really, really helps process the notes even a lot better, especially in a piece that's a little bit more advanced like this one. Okay, the next tip I have for you is use intervals. So again, if you're familiar with my lessons, you've probably heard this before, but what are intervals in case you don't know? By the way, actually I'll just tell you at the end, never mind. So an interval is the distance between 2 notes, and you can learn how to read music. Obviously, when you first start out, learn to read music as individual notes. So learn where E is, learn where C is, do the memorization thing and all that. But then you want to start looking at notes in how far apart they are on the piano, or actually on the sheet music and the piano. So obviously, with the right hand, we have these 3 notes stacked right on top of each other. It looks like a snowman. Well, because I know my intervals, I know that all 3 of those notes, the F sharp, the A, and the C, all have to be a third away from each other. So using that knowledge, I can read the notes even a lot faster. So use some of the things we've talked about in the past in combination with what we're doing today. I'm going to give you a final list here at the end so you can reproduce this technique over and over again. Print it out, maybe put it somewhere around where you practice so you can remember it real easy. So remember to use your knowledge of intervals. And then one thing I did want to tell you, after the end of the lesson, you want to check out the description, because in the description I have a link for you on for 2 places. One, if you don't know how to read music at all, and then another is to a video on how to read music faster. Definitely want to check that one out, because that's where we talk about the intervals and everything we are talking about today. All right, let's talk about the next tip I have for you. So one last time, remember, look at notes in columns and print this out if you need to and put it around where you practice. So read notes from the bottom to the top, go slow, and use intervals. So that is the technique. That's all the secrets there are to it. We're going to have a discussion about it, though, right now. Okay, our live stream attendee, John Cook, has a great question here, and he asks, do you try to master 1 or 2 measures before moving on to the next measure? This is a wonderful question. So you really should really only move on to the next measure once you've completed the measure and eliminated any glaring mistakes that are really obvious. So you shouldn't be playing a measure and knowing you totally screwed up that measure and then just move on to the next one. You don't want to do that. But you also don't have to have them absolutely perfect either. You want to just be able to play through the measure, like I said, without any glaring mistakes where you consciously know there's a mistake. Now, in terms of perfection, and what I mean by perfection is having perfect rhythms, going through and adding in all the dynamics and everything. These are things that you're going to do later. But one thing I just want to reiterate is that you don't want to move forward if you're making mistakes that you are aware of. You're going to go through the song later on to clean up the very small details. You're going to listen to recordings. You're going to play with the metronome. You're going to do all these things to really help you catch these mistakes, which will make a great lesson all on its own that I can make. But you certainly don't want to be moving on to the next measures if there's huge mistakes. Okay, Gary asks, should you learn from to bottom, starting with the bass clef, or starting at the bottom with both clefs at the same time? A wonderful question. The answer is you want to start from the bottom of the bass clef. So what you want to do, like, so say I have this example here. Let me show you with the piano. I'm going to read the bass clef. I only have one bass clef note. But if I had two bass clef notes, I'd read the bottom one first, then the top one. So bass clef first, bottom, top, and then treble clef next, bottom, top, like that. So playing this one, I'd have bottom, and then just the notes, the next notes up from the bottom to the top. So it's between both hands. It's not both hands at once, bottom, top. It's left hand, bottom, top, right hand, bottom, top. So the whole thing from the bottom of the keyboard to the top. So let me know if that didn't make any sense, and I can explain it in another way, but that's how it works out. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. If you want to learn more about how to read music, maybe you don't know how to read music at all, you'll want to check out this playlist, and I'm going to show you exactly where it is. So in the description right here, you can see that there's 3 links. There's piano lessons for beginners. That's a playlist for people like just starting out. They've never played piano before. But then you definitely want to check out the next playlist, and then the one after that, learn how to read music, and then the one is to the specific lesson after that, which is how to read music faster. So if you want to learn more about how to read music, you want to check those out. I'm also going to put some pop-ups on the screen or some cards where available, so you'll be able to find the links to those. So thanks everybody for coming out for another great lesson. It's been Tim from Lessons on the Web, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Thank you so much.